Anoushka, thank you so much for being on Drinking with Gin with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting to be on this show. Like, I was so excited.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we start every episode with what are you drinking? Are you drinking anything as we have our chat today?
Of course I am. Of course I am. Good old English tea. Of course, my tea. If anyone knows me, well, my lot will, but I am literally a tea connoisseur. I love my teas.
So one of my good friends visited London at the end of last
Oh,
year, and she brought me
okay.
back some English tea. And what was I thinking?
Right.
That's what I should have been having today. I'm having some sparkling water, but I should have had my English tea.
Oh, no worries. Doesn't matter. You have to save that for special occasions or like when you're having like a ritual or something and you're like drinking that tea because it is. I don't know what it is about us English. We love our teas and we do make such a hoo-ha about it.
Yeah.
Everyone has their specific way of drinking it for sure.
How do you take yours?
So it definitely has to be oat milk. It has to be steeped in like 3 to 4 minutes and maybe just a little teaspoon of honey. See,
Oh.
it is like really particular. I know.
It is, that's how I like mine too. I prefer almond milk, but I like honey
Okay.
in my tea, and
Yeah.
that's like my preferred sweetener.
Really?
If I'm drinking tea, and I studied abroad in
Okay.
England when I was
Did
in
you?
college, yeah, just a few years ago. Um,
Absolutely,
but
of course.
I had the opportunity to spend a month over there, and I think it's time for a revisit. Yeah.
That sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah.
You must.
I
You
think
must.
so. Well, Anoushka, I am so excited to have you because you have such great content on narcissism, toxic people, relationships. And I found some of your content and I thought this is the perfect opportunity to talk about something that I've never talked about here before. And I think it's really important to understand their behaviors, but you have this really great take on what is it actually like? Like, what is the day? Or what does a day look like in the life of a narcissist?
Yes, I did a video about that. And obviously, like, I know that's what you're referencing is that video. But yes, a day in a life of a narcissist. Well, their motivations are going to be really different to ours. Okay. And that's period. That's like it all the time. Like, they're going to be on the lookout for attention. They're going to be on the lookout on whether they're looking good or whether they're coming across good. So the way that they present, the way that they behave, the way that they think, yeah, of course, we're never going to know. We're never going to know what that is like because we don't do that. We don't behave in that way and we don't think like that. So it's going to be different. So we are never going to 100% understand it. I don't. I'm just trying to give examples to people out there to kind of go, yeah, but have you thought about it this way? Like maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I guess it's just about having that perspective and seeing how like seeing it in a different way, how they actually think. But we're never going to know.
One of the things that you just already brought up is their need for attention, right? And
Mm.
so if we think about a day in the life, everything, like if we think about narcissism 101, it's that
Yeah.
everything is about them.
Mm.
Everything centers around their need, them getting supply to fulfill that emptiness, really, kind of
Yes.
inside of them.
Yes, you see, you've got to understand that narcissism is a personality disorder. It's an enduring mental health condition, a personality disorder. So when you look at someone like that, they don't have the bandwidth to consider you. So all they can think about is themselves. And that might come across as really selfish or really preoccupied, but they just don't have the brain space to then take on what you're thinking, even though they are quite aware of other people's interpretations of them, the way that they're coming across. They're hyper vigilant as well and hypersensitive. But again, that's all really focused on them. They don't really have, like I said, they don't really have the brain space to be able to take on how you're thinking. It's all about them and how they're coming across and how they are being perceived.
That's so interesting because like that lack of empathy is
Yeah.
again like a cornerstone, right? So they don't have the
Mm,
ability to really put themselves in someone else's shoes. So it's like they get out of bed, they
yeah.
get their phone out. What happens? Like what do they do at that point?
Okay, so so understanding their motivations are very different to ours. So let's say they go on their phone. This is a distraction. Okay, a distraction, because what's going on underneath all of that is this perpetual negative self-talk. Okay, so the way that I can describe that, like how sometimes we might get stressed or we might get anxious, and then our mind's like going, 100 to the dozen, like thinking, oh my God, how do I look? Is my hair all fluffy? This is how I think sometimes. Oh my God, is my hair all fluffy? Do I need to put serum in? Oh my God, do these jeans go with this top? Like, is this like, how do I actually look? So all of those things, is that person actually looking at me? So we're all like, all the time, we're thinking, thinking, thinking. Okay. So we're taking in all of this stimuli. Now, for a narcissist, it's like, what are they saying about me? Are they doing this? You are useless. You are nothing. Remember, you're never going to amount to anything. You have to be like this. You're this. So it's this constant negativity that's going around their mind. Taking their phone out and distracting themselves really helps them to actually maybe calm down a little bit. And what they will do, usually their preferred method is going on social media, because like I understand, like all of us, we all go on social media to distract ourselves. I do it. And I'm not gonna lie, I do it as well, like I do scroll on TikTok, and or Instagram. But they'll go onto social media and look how many likes they've got, what comments, who's said what, who's watched their stories, because all of this is validating them. All of this is giving them confidence, extra confidence, toxic confidence, because as we know, those likes, those comments, those who's viewed our stories, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that that person, just because they're watching you and liking your content, is worshiping you. But for a narcissist, it means that. So it's very validating for them. And remember, if you're motivated by validation and attention, of course you're going to go onto your phone. Of course you're going to be looking on social media. This is what is going to literally make you feel so powerful and wonderful.
I get that question about social media a lot
Do
where,
you?
yeah, I've
Awesome.
had people say, like, do you think social media has made narcissism worse or like made narcissism more prevalent? And my perspective, and I would love to hear yours, is
Mm.
I think it's a little bit of a breeding ground, right? Like it does feed it. I think narcissism is not necessarily more prevalent. I think that we're more in tune
Yeah.
with it. We have more awareness around it, which has probably been brought about by social media and all the different platforms and people
Yeah.
like you raising awareness and bringing education and information around it. And
Yeah.
then social media for narcissists has maybe made them a little bit more visible. So we
Yeah.
see it a little
Yeah.
bit more in the
Mm.
front line or like in
Yes.
front of our faces.
Yes, I agree with you completely. I think as a society, we have become more aware of it. If you think about it, like we're talking maybe let's say 50 or 60 years ago when, there was or even maybe 100 years ago when the World War was on and, there was a lot of communism, there was a lot of suppression of emotion, a lot of generationally, a lot of people who had grown up at that time had suppressed emotions, and it was very much about on the go, 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 earn the money, rebuild cities, that sort of thing. So there wasn't very much time to be able to think about emotions and expressing them within, I'm talking like within the family unit. So society as a whole became quite suppressed, and over time, this has regressed a lot of communities around the world. So then, as the term narcissism came about to be a lot more popular, I would say probably in the last as little as the last 5 years, it's become a lot more known. But it has been about like it's always been about. It's not anything new. It's not a new discovery. It's just talked about a lot more. And obviously, with the explosion of social media, and now it becoming more prevalent in society, people are obviously using the platforms to be able to speak about it, to educate others, to inform others. So I do feel like whilst social media does have its positives and its drawbacks meaning that yes, it can fuel narcissistic behavior. But if you really think about it, narcissism is all about the ego. So all of us have an ego, including myself. So there's different things that is going to make us feel good about ourselves, what's going to fuel us. So what one thing might work for someone might not work for another. And for a narcissist, those things are a lot more important. They put a lot more attention and importance on how they are perceived, how they are coming across, and whether their needs are getting met. So there is the issue. So it's to do with ego and interpersonal skills. So when the two marry up, you've got a narcissist, basically. So does social media bring about more of it, more narcissism? Yes, but no. If you're someone that really needs attention and that's what makes you tick, then yeah, social media would be that platform, or would be the preferred method of validating your needs.
I totally agree with that. And this is, I think, where narcissism gets so nuanced, right? Because then you have covert and you have overt. And like an overt narcissist is going to be the one that's going to probably seek that like grandiosity. And they
Yeah.
might do it in different ways. So like when I think about my ex, who I call a predatory sociopathic narcissist,
Yeah.
in like he would use social media and say, oh, it's because he was like very sneaky, very shady. And so he would say he only used social media for work. So there are, I think, some narcissists that will not go on social media so that they can keep up with their seedy, the pathological line, the cheating, the stealing,
Yeah.
all of that. And so I think it can kind of be just like narcissism is a spectrum of how they leverage and utilize social media in
Yeah.
today's
Yeah.
modern world.
Yes, but and then again, it's what motivates you. Some of them are not even on social media. It could be that what motivates them is, I don't know, getting knowledge of people. That could be a motivation. It really just depends on what that person's motivation is, what makes them tick, what gives them the attention, what gives them the power. And that's what it boils down to. Because again, what we're talking about here is personality, a disordered personality, ego. So we've all got one, but different motivation, different needs that need to be satisfied.
And I think when you talk about ego, which is one of my favorite topics as it relates to this, because I think it can be confusing for people to go, well, wait, it's all about fulfilling their ego, but also narcissism is kind of stemmed from insecurity. And I think that's an important thing. Do you have any insight on how you kind of relay that information?
So it all stems from childhood. It all how someone is to because insecurity is to do with someone's sense of self. So it's about, again, how you see yourself and then how you portray yourself to the outside world. And of course, like if your early childhood experiences were challenging, were very traumatic, and indeed within narcissistic dynamic family dynamics they would have been. So there would have been a lot of trauma involved, there would have been a lot of time alone, there would have been parents who could have been quite dismissive or overtly a lot of attention on that child. So either way, it really just depends on that person's childhood upbringing and also their parents as role models. What do they teach them? How did they meet those child's needs? What is it that the child needed to do to get the validation of their parents? And if you look at it, it's very, that behavior of what a narcissist would have done in childhood is very much copy and pasted into their adulthood. Like you've got the mirroring, you've got the love bombing. That's very much what they would have gone through to get their parents' attention.
So I think it's important to understand the way that a narcissist presents, like with a big ego, right? Like that grandiosity, like, oh, I'm all of these things, but inside how they really feel doesn't match that necessarily.
Yes, it doesn't at all. It's very different. And you see, again, they've built these defense mechanisms. They've built this kind of like a persona, like a false persona, so that they can appear to be like me and you. they can fit in, because those are the things that they didn't have as children. So what they were missing in childhood, they now want to recreate in adulthood, the opposite, because those are the things they didn't have and they don't want to feel like they did as a child. So that's why they will come across as grandiose. That's why they will come across as ultra confident, and look at me, attention on me. So it's very much, it's an indication of needs that were not met as children. They now are amplified in adulthood.
Go back to thinking about a day in the life of a
Yes.
narcissist.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what your personal experience is with having dealt with narcissists. Mine's been quite extensive, unfortunately.
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
But one of the things that I've experienced with them is the pathological lying. How much time do they spend thinking about their lies, or do they? Does it come so naturally to them? Or like how much of their day is spent on like covering up the next lie or the last lie? I mean, I feel like inside their brains has got to be so chaotic.
That would be an interesting word to describe it, actually. Yeah, chaotic. In terms of the pathological lying, the only way that you can get away with it to that level is something called compartmentalization. A narcissist, it's almost like they play a role. So do you remember what we were talking about? Do you remember when I said, oh, they will make sure that their childhood isn't exposed. So they've got these defense mechanisms, their ego. So what they do is they create this character, so to speak, like this false persona. So when they are with this person in this situation, that's them in this situation. So they will play that role. And when they are in that mind frame or in that mindset or with that person, they are that character. And when they step away and they go to that person and that situation, that scenario, they are that. So the only way that you can do that is by compartmentalizing these certain experiences, people, situations in your life. So it's almost like you kind of step into this role with this person, take yourself back, step into this role with this person, and take a step back. That's the only way you can do it. So whatever they're saying, it's almost like it is rolling off the tongue. They believe it because you're playing a character. Like how you've got some actors, Hollywood actors and actresses, they step into a role. It's kind of like that type of premise or that type of way that they do it. So that's how compartmentalization works.
And that's because they lack a true core
Yeah.
identity.
Yes.
And so they can flit around to all these different situations, pretending to be
Yes.
different people, almost like it's gotta be so exhausting. I mean, like like especially when I think about my ex and like all of the countless women that I learned about after the fact.
Oh,
Like
bless you.
how do you keep it all straight? And like I barely had the energy to be in a relationship with one person.
I know that, but that's what I mean. In a healthy relationship, it is just one person. But with them, again, it's because they crave attention. And that is their primary motivation. It's not the act, it's not the person, it is the attention and the validation that they get from that person. So, yes, whilst it is tiring, but when you have something that it's giving you life, you're feeling great, you're feeling so good, you're going to want more of it because you've not had it or you don't have enough of it. You just want more, you consume more and more and more. And there's the issue. That's why it's called a personality disorder.
So
Like,
they spend a lot of their time and energy during the day thinking about how they're going to get their next high, kind of from their next supply.
but they are also chances. So if they feel that they're getting what they want, or they can kind of orchestrate a situation or a person to do that for them, then they will do that.
Yeah.
They're very impulsive. Their chances, if they see that there is a scenario or a situation that they can get it, then they'll go full speed ahead at any cost. Yes.
What have we missed, or what have I missed? What questions have I not asked so that we are covering the right kind of information? Because I just think this is really fascinating.
We could talk about how they exploit others, and also the resentment towards other people's successes. Because there is a huge part of this where, even though, yes, it might feel like great that they're all doing this, they're trying to get their needs met. And for someone like us, we might be looking at it and thinking, oh, it's quite easy to act like you've got confidence and you're getting your needs met and you don't care about someone else's feelings. But also the fact is that they don't feel joy, they don't feel happiness, they don't feel fulfillment or happiness like we do. Maybe we feel it, like we don't feel it all the time, or we feel it at certain time points during the day, during the week, during the year, but they don't know how to embody that. They don't know how to feel that. So when they see that perhaps maybe someone else is doing better than them, let's take it even like in a work scenario. They're in a high standing position. They're management. They're like managing people, and they see someone else is doing better than them. They will try and sabotage that other person so that they feel good, so that they are still that one on top. There is a lot of resentment. There's a lot of jealousy that happens as well. And if you're on the receiving end of that, it can be very devastating, because you don't understand why someone would want to sabotage you, why someone would want to steal your work, want to be this way, when all you're doing is being yourself. So they will purposely sabotage, maybe not even in a work setting, but even in a relationship, trying to get their point of view across, and they're not listening to what you've got to say. Again, that's another level of this, where they will want to satisfy their own needs, make them feel good. They will tell you what you want to hear. They'll use flattery, all of this. And inside we're thinking, oh, this person really understands, but all they're doing is they're just lying, and they're just making you feel as though perhaps maybe they do understand and that you can go forward in this relationship. And then there's the whole aspect of the future as well, which gets ruined really badly.
Yeah, because there really isn't a future with a
No,
narcissist. There's
no.
not. They sell you a dream and deliver you a nightmare.
I like that. I like that. I've not heard that one before. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, they
So
sell you a dream.
you brought up a couple of really fascinating things, and so just to not stepping away from the narcissism topics, that's what we're here to talk about. That's being in a relationship with a narcissist, whether it's a family member, a romantic relationship, a friend, a colleague, you name it. It's an
Yes.
unhealthy relationship. And one of my closest friends sent me the most flattering reel recently that was from Simon Sinek. And he said, the true sign of a healthy, true friend is not the person that you call when you're going through a rough time. It's the person that you call when you have a big achievement or something to celebrate that you know is going to cheer you on. And I think that's a really important message. So for people to keep that in mind, if someone is tearing you down or not celebrating your achievements and your accomplishments, that's a red flag. Like a big old green flag is that person that wants to link arms with you and celebrate your success, your accomplishments, cheer
Yeah.
you on, support you, see you be successful, be yourself and shine your bright light. Like
Yeah.
that's the real rich.
Yes, I agree with you. I do. And I feel like a lot of people don't actually know that, because they do nowadays. A lot of it has become about, that person that you call when you're really going through it. Yes, that person can listen to you, but you're right. It's someone who is going to be your cheerleader, who's going to go like, well done. They're not going to see you as a threat and not compare themselves to you, because they feel already content and complete within themselves. Unfortunately, to say that, that's quite a rarity in our society today.
Grab on to those people, like I said, link arms, and
Yeah,
like those are,
100%.
keep them close, keep those people close. You've also brought up a couple of different times a really important topic about emotions and processing emotions. So this is very near and dear to my heart. My TEDx talk that I did, I talked about minimizing and the
Yeah.
importance of processing our emotions. You also brought up the word jealousy. And I don't know if you've seen this or heard her talk about it, but Brene Brown talks about jealousy versus envy.
Right.
And I want to get your thoughts on this because I think it's really profound. She describes jealousy as you seeing, like, let's say I see you're traveling to a really great place, and I'm like, oh, Anoushka's there on that great vacation. I want that for her, and I want it too. I'm jealous
Mhm.
that she's there right now, but I don't want to take it away from her. Whereas envy is, oh, Anoushka got that speaking gig. She shouldn't have that. I should have it instead. That's
Mm.
envy, wanting to take away somebody else's something so that you can have it versus jealousy being like, oh, I'm so jealous that you're there. I want it too,
Mm.
but I also still want that for them. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts? Like, so when I think about how you were describing a narcissist, I'm like, a narcissist isn't really jealous, they're envious. And I think it's
Yeah.
such a very fine line
Yes.
between the difference of those two.
I think envy is more about the dysfunctional ego. It's all about the survival mechanism that each and every one of us has inbuilt. But what has happened, it has become destroyed. It has become even more refined to a negative place where you see another human being or someone else that has something similar as a direct threat. So it's almost as though you could have feelings of really envying, really nasty, almost like you want to kill that person because they've got something that you want. And what that does is that puts you in the mindset of lack, meaning that you don't have it. And that can be very dangerous. And this is what I mean by jealousy, envy. It's yes, it's a negative emotion. We all have it. I've felt jealous in my life before. Yeah. I've compared myself to people in my life before. Yes, of course I have. But the difference is I don't wish them unwell. I wish them, okay, I'd love to have that, but okay, maybe in a few years, whatever. Envy can kill. And a narcissist, yes, they do feel envy, but it's all about a dysfunctional ego where you feel less than.
Yeah, that lack mentality. I'm glad you brought that up. The other thing you've brought up a couple of times is when you talked about like going back to, 100 years ago and
Mm,
this whole concept of suppressing emotions.
yes.
And, also like this, I think this is an important topic because I think this is really great for, you listening to kind of keep this in mind for yourself. When I'm a big proponent of cognitive diffusion, right? So there's a lot of people are like, oh, positive mindset, but all they're doing is suppressing their emotions or just trying to ignore negative emotions. And
Mm,
I'm a really big proponent of cognitive diffusion because it's really understanding, acknowledging the
yes.
emotions that you're feeling for exactly as big as they are, processing them and putting intention on how you want to feel and detaching from that emotion and recognizing that because I'm feeling anxious or because I'm feeling guilt or shame right now doesn't mean that defines me. And this
Yes.
every emotion that we've ever felt is temporary, right? So this is for the healthy people, not for the narcissists, because like you said, they don't feel happiness and joy and enlightenment and peace. It's processing it so that you can put that intention, detach from the negative emotions so that you
Yes.
can recognize that those good, beautiful, healthy, more high vibrating emotions are around the
Yeah.
corner.
I think a lot of this, what we have to understand is that we're a human being having we're a soul having a human experience. So yes, we're going to experience all of these emotions. And it is important to identify them as they're happening. Like, for example, when we are really happy, when we are really joyous, when we do get that raise at work, we're going to feel good. And so we do put a lot of energy and attention on that. But also, we have to think about that we also are going to have negative feelings, like we're going to feel let down, like we're going to feel upset or anxious or jealous. Those are all feelings, they're all emotions. We are a human being, we're going to experience all of them. It's you, as you said, it's not about minimizing the negative ones to feel the positive ones. This is about acknowledging all of it because you are having a human experience. But we also have to understand it's also about the way that you perceive this, because remember, in life you have choices. It's about how you perceive certain things. So if you want to look at it, and when you're going through something negative and look at it and think, oh, my life is always bad, like now this has happened, and or for example, you're getting over a narcissist and you think, oh, I can't get over this trauma bond. I'm really stuck in this. My mind, I was so happy when I was with them. But again, we've got to stop and think about that. Like, Is that really it? So it's about the narrative that you tell yourself. Remember, we are not our thoughts. So when you're having a certain thought, you're going to have like a certain emotion attached onto it. You can change your thoughts and you can change the way that you interpret your emotions as well. So one goes hand in hand. So that's really about how much work you've done on yourself and how self-aware you actually are.
I love when we're having these conversations and there's so much alignment. So what I always say is your thoughts create your
Yeah.
feelings shape your mood, and your
Hmm.
mood becomes your reality.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for how much control and how much we can shape those things for
Yeah.
ourselves. And, shutting out the external noise and influence from other people. And also, like, everything that you just said made me think of this new concept that I'm doing in this group coaching community. It's my new keynote. It's my upcoming
Wow.
book. It's this whole concept of this one word that we can use to kind of process and understand and view everything. It's a word that we all know, that we all can relate to. It's relatable, it's relevant, it's current, and it's unsubscribe. And so when we think about it, it really can apply to everything. And so I've created 4 different buckets. Like if you are challenged right now with a narcissist,
Yeah.
you can either unsubscribe, block. Like you can do a full block, go no contact,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
do a mute. Like, I mute people on Instagram. So you can just say, I need a temporary break. Like this person is not really jiving with me right now. Like, I think I just need like a temporary break. And you can decide for how
Yeah.
long that is. Maybe you need to manage your subscription. Maybe you just need a little less of something or someone in your
Mm.
life.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we need to unsubscribe to something so we can subscribe to something else. Like that
Yeah.
might be, I know a lot of people right now are doing dry January. So
Oh,
maybe
yes.
it's
Yes.
you're unsubscribing from alcohol and subscribing to tea instead, right?
Yeah.
Like it literally can apply to just about everything. And it just, as you were talking, that kept coming up of like,
Oh,
we can really simplify things in the way that we look at them and uncomplicate it just by kind of
yeah.
applying that one little principle.
You have options.
Yeah.
You have options. And also, you know what? This is all about perspective because that's what it is about life. It's all about your perspective and how you see this. So it's about your mindset. And that's what we have to work on is ourselves, not worrying about what the narcissist is doing, what they're doing on Instagram, who is their next person that they're seeing. Who cares? Who cares about all of that? This life is about you, actually, because it is your life, because it is just about you. So this is about where you put your own attention to. This is about understanding that you are important. And it is about perspective in life. Energy goes where you put your attention to. Not energy
Yes.
goes. You know what I mean? That saying. And it is true. It's
Yeah.
where you put your attention. That's where your energy will go.
I think it's energy flows to where your attention goes,
That's it.
or
Thank you,
energy
Ginny.
goes to
Thank you.
where your focus, energy flows to where your focus goes. Either way, like where you put your attention
Yeah.
and your focus, that is where
Yes.
your energy is going to go. And so I
So
think when
true.
we're talking about narcissists and like a day in the life of a narcissist, we have to stop trying to figure it out because we're never going to be able to think like them. We have to
No.
unsubscribe to their behaviors and
Yes.
worrying about
Yes.
being able
Yes.
to, you're not going to change them. I actually posted this funny thing in my stories yesterday that said,
Yes.
the girl that says, but I can change him. Girl, did he poop his pants? Like, that's the only type of changing you're going to do. Of like, you're never going to change a narcissist. I actually say they don't, you're asking the wrong question if you're asking if they change. Because what
Mm.
you're trying to know is, will they improve? Because I've seen narcissists change for the worse. Like they actually get worse because the stakes get higher. So they take bigger risks, they make bigger lies, they
Yeah, yeah,
steal
yeah,
larger
yeah, yeah, yeah.
amounts. It can compound and get worse, but they don't get better. They don't improve. So the more you
No.
can unsubscribe from that way of thinking, and like you said, put the focus on yourself, your own
Yeah.
energy, focus on your own behaviors and,
Mm.
improving
Yes.
yourself. And that's really the best gift that you can give yourself.
Because your life is about you, really. You came, sorry to sound so crude, but you've come here alone and you're going to leave alone. And the people that you meet in between on this journey or in between, I mean, well, they're the ones that are going, you can choose who you can have in your life and who you want to share these experiences with. So really, everything's about choice, about perspective.
You're wonderful. I so have enjoyed this conversation. We need more of
Thank
you.
you.
So
Bless you. Thank
like
you.
we're going to follow your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? Where do you hang out the most? Like YouTube, is that kind of the best platform to connect with you on?
Yes, please. Yeah, YouTube, I'm there daily. So I will post some sort of video and short or on the community tab, some posts to encourage people. Instagram, obviously, well, we're all on Instagram. That's more about what I kind of do day to day, daily thing. If you want to get to know me a little bit deeper, come on over to Instagram. But I'm also on TikTok as well. So yeah, all of those three platforms, but mainly YouTube for sure. Yeah.
Okay, I will put links to all of those
Oh, thank
of your
you.
information so people can easily just click and find you. Any final words or thoughts that you want to leave us with today? And I want to thank you so much for your time. This conversation was so wonderful. I just really enjoyed it. So helpful.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. I also enjoyed speaking with you. Well, yeah, so the final thoughts, what I wanted to say is, you know what? You're an amazing person, and you need to really recognize that. This person, this experience that you've had does not define you. That is the past. You now have the opportunity to create a new, beautiful life for you, something that is going to involve you. This is the next chapter of your life. So embrace it with both hands. I know it's not going to be easy and it will be painful, but it's not going to be like that forever because life is fluid. So invest in yourself and live the best version of your life that you can because you have this experience this time. So live it to the full.
We'll end right there. Nothing, I
Thank
mean,
you very
that's the
much.
perfect way to wrap. Thank you, Anoushka.
Thank you very much. Thank you.